Hello, and thank you for joining the second plenary session of the forum. Central Asia is home to vast reserves of minerals and metals. During the session, we will be discussing the current state and the prospects of geological exploration in Central Asia. Esteemed representatives from the National Geological Services and international mining companies will offer their insights and share information about some of the advanced mineral exploration projects. We are conducting a survey on the incentives and prospects for accelerating geological exploration in Central Asia, with a focus on Kazakhstan. Your insights and perspectives as industry professionals will be invaluable in helping us understand the current landscape and identify opportunities for growth and development in this critical sector. The survey covers a range of topics, including strategies for achieving the government's goal of a 40% increase in mineral reserves by 2029, expectations for investment activity and mineral exploration in Kazakhstan over the next 12 months, challenges faced in obtaining exploration permits and licenses, emerging technologies that will shape the geological industry in the coming decade. Your participation is completely voluntary and your responses will be kept confidential. Please scan the QR code to open the survey. Let's explore Kazakhstan exploration industry together.
Allow me to welcome and greet all of the participants of this session, participants of the forum. Our session is the stimulus and perspectives of incentive and prospects for acceleration of geological exploration in Central Asia, with the participation of national and foreign subsoil users. Organizers decided to have a team of the speakers, quite interesting ones. They are going to speak on this theme. Anna Farrell, senior geologist of the SLK Consulting, the first speaker of ours, who will elaborate on potential of Kazakhstan regarding the critical minerals. We also have the National Geology Survey chair, Yerlan Aliyev. I'm very happy to see a forum that is quite international one. We have Kyrgyz Republic Vice Minister Midir Rasanovich Mashiev, who is going to elaborate on potential of the geological exploration in Kyrgyz Republic. Unfortunately, director of the department who had to elaborate on system of minerals KZ, which is the national bank, couldn't participate, but I think that it will be compensated by National Geological Survey because they are the operators in this system. And one more interesting presentation we're going to have from Shuvarshet. No, we don't have this person present. James Benner, the manager on geology, just minerals. This is the company who entered to Kazakhstan, has projects in Kazakhstan. Their experience in a sense of the transition from the Africa to Kazakhstan will be very interesting at least. And also potential realization in the copper deposits. Alex Walker, CEO of Start Resources, and one more colleague, the member of the board, Kazakhstan Chamber, never late, he's always in time, Team Barry. His topic is the copper gold potential of Pavlodar region. Before the session, I would like to orientate you to the survey that you had on a previous session. You could see in your agenda of our forum the QR code, or it will be displayed on the screen. By scanning it, you will go to the survey and express your opinion, which will be interesting for the investors and the sector and the industry and for us. And I would like to offer you to scan and go to the survey and fulfill the survey. I'm not going to take your time, to take speaker's time, so that is why I would like to give a floor to Anna with the issue of the potential of Kazakhstan and how to implement it. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ruslan. Oh, that's loud. Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd take this opportunity to focus a little bit on critical minerals and the opportunities here in Kazakhstan, because 2 years ago I stood here and I talked about the lithium potential in this country. And I spoke to many delegates and they said, oh, there's no lithium here. And here we are, 2 years later, and we have the first lithium brine extraction license awarded to a Canadian company in the Caspian, and we have over 800 million committed by a German-Kazakh consortium to develop lithium mining and exploration in East Kazakhstan. So I think that we have to look beyond our biases and our tunnel vision when looking at Kazakhstan, and think about there always is opportunities. We just have to look a little harder and maybe look in places that we weren't thinking about before. So I mentioned these countries here on the slide because these 10 policies cover the top importers of raw materials in the world, and critical minerals specifically. So these policies are really the ones that influence our industry, and they are increasingly influencing them with resource nationalism. Good thing for us here in Kazakhstan is that most of them are already produced here, and a lot of them either were previously produced or there is potential for them. So that's great for us as people that operate here in this industry, but also a bit of an eye-opener because Kazakhstan is often associated with copper and gold and chrome, but there's a lot of other products there that now everybody is looking to extract. So I wanted to specifically talk about the opportunity here in tailings and coal ash, because Kazakhstan has a rich mining history, and these are our new resources now. We have over 80 years or more of mining world-class deposits here in Kazakhstan. So these are the places where we can very easily maximize our opportunities. And what's interesting is that a lot of these critical minerals are byproducts that can potentially be found in tailings facilities in coal fly ash. And the opportunity here for Kazakhstan is that we have this circular economy element that we're looking to develop, which will add value and skilled investment. It helps us clean up the mine legacy and reduce cost. It helps increase skilled job creation and that value chain. So where can we find these deposits? Well, this map shows you all the processing facilities here in Kazakhstan, and I just wanted to point out the Tier 1 deposits that already exist here and the potential of those tailings and waste facilities that we know exist and are just there on the surface waiting for us to exploit them. Some of the most famous is the Kempsai ophiolite, which has the highest chrome content, or one of the highest chrome contents in the world. ERG are already reprocessing their chrome tailings as they're able to extract more value from that. We find that huge deposits, obviously in just Kazgan. Central Asia metals have already successfully extracted from tailings deposits in the Kunrad region. There are many more. Another thing I wanted to point out is the huge potential in the coal fly ash deposits that we have all over the country associated with power stations. And of course, the Malevsky VMS down near Ridda. So I wanted to illustrate some critical minerals on those lists that occur as byproducts here in Kazakhstan and where they are typically produced. And as you will see, a lot of them are related to base metal production, bauxite processing, which we have here, and they're associated with these deposits in lower concentrations. And in the past, it might not have been economic to actually separate and sell those, but now, with these new market drivers, this is a real opportunity. And Kazakhstan already capitalizes on this. Kazakhstan is already a major producer of rhenium, number 3 in the world. And the opportunity again for gallium and germanium particularly, that Kazakhstan used to produce, is there within copper deposits and potentially tailings in many places. So I encourage you to look again at the waste that we have here and think about the opportunities not for the primary metals but also for these byproducts and within the industry, just the critical minerals that exist. I just also wanted to point out there that germanium is also hosted in coal fly ash, and currently within Kazakhstan there is a market of using coal fly ash, but we don't necessarily extract the heavy metals from that, and that's a process that can extract things like germanium and is another potential industry that could mature and become quite big in this country. So how do we monetize this? Well, I think the main thing is that the money and the value comes at the smelting and refining. It doesn't often make economic sense for individual mines to produce separate streams. But what we need to do and look at more thoroughly across the industry is all of these elements in our deposits. When we have a copper deposit, we need to be analysing for all these critical minerals so that we can see if there is some credit that can be maintained or got from our feed to the plant. And I think that there's a real opportunity as well in mine closure to assess tailings and waste rock dump facilities again for these products. But the idea is that the processing facilities, and there needs to be investment and they need to be more efficient, use less water. But that's the area where we can really increase this industry and, well, it needs to if we want to capitalize on this resource. I also want to point out that Kazakhstan, although a double landlocked country, is politically and geographically in a very good position. It has good ties with Western and Eastern nations, and there's a lot of investment now in this middle corridor, which is this trade route, and that's being discussed through about 11 countries. And the politics and the transnational agreements here are critical to obviously developing this industry for critical minerals here, because these critical minerals need to quickly get to the market and they need to be available, and these transnational agreements will allow the flow of trade from China all the way through to Europe. So I've just outlined here some opportunities for Kazakhstan within the critical minerals sector, particularly around the utilization of waste. And I've mentioned them all previously, so I won't go through in too much detail. But for me, one of the other things that is really an opportunity is the investment into research and development for processed tailings. And for the government to incentivize this and to make public research and development that is done in Kazakhstan for the benefit of the industry, so that we can accelerate this process of education and learning and really galvanize this sector. I think it also is a major opportunity for a number of aging mines where there is huge environmental liabilities, where those costs may be offset by reprocessing of waste. So, in summary, we're at the beginning now of this journey into a more sustainable Kazakhstan. And here we have to think openly about the opportunities and look again at the problems that we have and the solutions that are possible. And I think that if we can get long-term government incentives and stability, we can absolutely galvanize this sector. Because I think that everybody realizes how important these issues are to us here in Kazakhstan and also to the partners politically of Kazakhstan. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that's given you reason to look again at your assets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. A really up-to-date topic for Kazakhstan when it comes to the processing and when it comes to the technogenic mineral formation and implementing the code into this question. It was solved that way that all technogenic mineral formation which were stored and it was recognized as the part of subsoil and its exploration. It was essential to establish it based on the general license that the ministry issues. So I hope that your experience will help us to develop this processing and all this stored waste that we have in the country that will be finally returned to this work. And I would like to structure this session a little bit different way. Let us give an opportunity to take the floor to all speakers, and then we will proceed to the Q&A session, okay? So the next speaker is our guest from Kyrgyz Republic, which will tell us about the potential of the industry. Please, the floor is yours, Mr. Meder Mashiev. Thank you, distinguished speakers and participants. I would like to welcome you all here at this 14th Mining and Exploration Forum. Taking this chance, I would like to express the gratitude to the organizers and the participants, and thank you so much for inviting me, for having me here, for this opportunity to take the floor and to present my report on the investment opportunities of subsoil usage. And this forum is very wonderful platform where we have different representatives of different authorities from all over the world to have an opportunity to exchange the opinions on these topics. Since Kyrgyzstan is the country with a very rich base of mineral resources, the development of this industry is really up to date. And the participation in this forum is very important for us. Kyrgyz Republic, that is the country in Central Asia. We have borders with Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, China, and Tajikistan. The population is 7 million people. Kyrgyzstan is the participant of and the member of different international organizations, UNO, the World Trade Organization, EU, and Eurasian Economic Union, and others. Plus, we can see that we have mountains, the highlands, more than 4,000 meters, and the majority of this mountainous area is covered with ice and snow. And the ice caps takes the big part of the territory. The GDP growth for 2023 is 6.2%. The mineral resources is the basis of the economic development for many republics. For the Republic of Kyrgyzstan, it is very important too. The development of mining industry is the priority direction of the republic. The main mineral resources are the polymetals, the precious metals, rare earth and the others. And the largest interest is given to the gold mine sites, which has obtained the economical meaning because of the rapid growth at the international market. And Kyrgyzstan takes the 22nd place for the gold production and export of gold. Kyrgyzstan, geologically speaking, is very well explored, but the geological exploration is required when it comes to the areas that were not covered and to assess the prospective areas to provide the forecast of the resources. By the state of the balance that was accounted more than thousands of mines when it comes to 55 different types of minerals. Also, we have the potential to increase the mineral basis according to the forecast that we have when it comes to the rare earth and the non-ore, the black metals as well. And in order to involve into this exploration, we can offer to the investors such interesting mines that have the significant industrial potential, such as mines called Sandik, aluminium and rubidium, where the estimate says the number 731 million tons, and Kazalimpur. The main minerals here are the titanium with the reserve 1.6 million tons. We also have more than thousands of mine sites for the geological and prospective exploration works and subsoil exploration. We are inviting those who are interested to cooperate. Plus, the rare earth has a great role in technogenic development, technological development to provide the safe progress in future. In Kyrgyzstan, we have about 11 mines of the critical minerals, and the country has the plans on creating the modern industry of the rare earth minerals and metals. We have mentioned here such mines as Kutsai 2, which is the part of one Warfield Actus. For the economy of the Kyrgyz Republic, the mineral resources play an important role when we develop the mining and other industries, which has a positive impact on the economical development of the country. Large companies of Kyrgyzstan are oriented on gold, silver, copper, coal, and other extractions. And the main role here is gold extraction. Before 2012, it was about at the level up to 15 tons. So since 2021, we have built the capacity on, and now we have 28, 36. The same trend in sphere of coal, copper, and oil. According to the statistics, annually, the copper growth is about 16,000 tons. The coal is more than 4 million tons per year since 2023. The Kyrgyz Republic cooperates with the majority of large international organizations. It has 28 agreements of avoiding the double taxation and 32 agreements on mutual promotion, mutual protection of capital investment. Kyrgyzstan provides different preferences and the taxation, different taxation aspects. In order to stabilize the situation, different tax exemptions and fiscal loosening, and then the preferences with a Turkish company, British charcoal holdings, and other large companies. That was the first time in the history when this Organization of Stabilization was signed. In Kyrgyzstan, the extraction and processing of minerals, that is the activity where we have more than 100 mining enterprises involved. The large domestic and international companies are involved. For instance, Kaz Minerals, it is one of the leading copper producers in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzaltyn, that is the domestic enterprise which is focused on the gold mindset work, and Comter Gold is devoted to the exploration since 2023. Since 1996, and as of 2023 reserves, gold 143.9 tons, silver 109.1 tons, and at the from other point of view, we should mention other internationals very highly reputed, with a high respected reputation, different holdings, Tsidzin Mining Group Holding, Chinky Holding, Kaz Minerals, and etc. In Kyrgyzstan, we also have different international laboratories such as Alex Stewart, Architect, Alfred H. Knight, and others that have the international accreditation. Here we have mentioned large companies, the amount of their investments. I would like to stop at the point, for instance, Charad Gold Company. During this years, they've invested more than $200 million. Genghis Holding, the amount of investment is more than $300 million dollars, $200 million US dollars, and the Zilin Mining Group Company and Lingbao and others. So also in Kyrgyzstan, the work has been done very actively, as we've mentioned, the Chinese companies. This ZG Mining Group is involved in gold extraction at developing at the Toldebulag gold deposit and full gold mining. They extract gold in our country. Within the frameworks of the reforms in the mining industry, which is processed by the government, we had a decree by the government. There was a case standard based on the international geological subsoil use standards. Kyrgyzstan is working on this mining code, designing the new one, and first of all, it will be devoted on attracting and protecting the investors. Also, I'd like to emphasize that the government, first time ever, has had $12 million for the development of the geological industry of the Kyrgyz Republic. Welcome all the interested parties and stakeholders for the active cooperation and the realization of the project. And on behalf of myself, the ministry is ready to support and to provide all the convenient and safe terms and conditions for your investment activities in the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. The Ministry of the Mineral Resource, Subsoils, and the Technical Supervision of those invites you to participate in MINEX Central Asia, in the 10th Central Asian Mining Geological Prospecting Forum, to get to know the investment opportunities of our country. You have the information on the backside of your page, which will be held in Bishkek. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Actually, yes, we truly say all the time that geology has no borders, no limits. And the school of Soviet geologists that were involved in this work, the school was one single school. And I believe that your message and your wish, your desire to have all these reforms to improve the jurisdiction for the investors to come, it will be assessed and valued, and we'll see the results during the next forum next year. I think now I'd like to give the floor to the management, to the member of the management, to Mr. Yerlan Galiev. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. And thank you so much to the speech of our Kyrgyz guest. We have played the same musical instrument. We're drinking the same beverage. So thank you so much. Very happy to welcome you here.
Добрый день, уважаемые.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with a little comment. As Ruslan has mentioned already, in several regions in our country, we have these emergency situation, unfortunately. Therefore, our Ministry of Industry and the Construction here has business trip to the north of Kazakhstan, and in general, our management, our ministry representatives are engaged in working with this flooding disaster, how to mitigate this issue. That is why they couldn't attend this meeting today.
And what have been already voiced by our speakers? It always happens when it's necessary, seriously. I bring my apologies. So everything that had been voiced by speakers, the problems in Kazakhstan is in recovery of the resource basis. So that is why I would like to do the excursus to the chronology, which brought us to a situation that we are experiencing in Kazakhstan. And as you know, since the gaining the independence, Kazakhstan had significant mineral resource potential, and since independence, low levels of investment in exploration had been attracted, and there hadn't been done the no world class discovery, and we had the declassification of information on balanced reserves had been done. Sisi Gali Total, for example, in 2020, in 2018, the new code on subsoil users came into force. The number of issued licenses increased 4 times compared to the period of from 1991 to 2018. And then in 2023, we had opened the entire territory of the Republic of Kazakhstan for subsoil users. And since 2024, we had transitioned to the system as we call CRISCO, which is the IRSCO for the new deposits. And in order to regulate everything that is happening in geological industry, at the end of the 2022, we had adopted concept for the development of the geological industry of the Republic of Kazakhstan for the period of 2023 till 2027. And I would like to say that concept became the basis of the geological industry development roadmap. It has 4 directions. First of all is the increasing the efficiency of geological study of the subsoil and replenishing the mineral resource base. Second is informatization and digitalization and automatization of the geological industry, which is not a secret that the situation with the personnel is difficult. So that is why third direction is the research and staff support for the geological industry. It's not in the best state right now, so that is why the provision with the employees, specialists is something that we need to deal with. The fourth direction, we are planning to develop the geocluster, which is going to be the infrastructure in the geological industry. So we are going to construct the data centers for the geological services. We know that we are not reinventing the wheel. We are just going to, we are working with other geological services of other countries. Last week we had met with the Finnish geological services, and the next week we're going to have visit from African geological services, and we're already in a close contact with UK geological industry key specialists. So we're going to deal with the problems. Regarding the perspectives or development prospects of mineral resource base of the country, I have already mentioned the problem of the monostates, because the mono cities, because they are quite sensitive, because they are depending on the geological industry development, and that is why we need to deal with these problems. We also have the replenishment problems, for example, with the zinc or aluminium. And if we will compare with the 1990s, the inheritance that we got and the situation that we have, the recovery of these elements is quite concerning one, because we see that within 10-15 years, if we will not store the paces of the replenishment and the recovery of these mineral resources, we have risks that the large companies will not have the deposits. And what ways of solution we have? So we are going to accelerate the well, taking into account the advanced technologies used in the development of deposits, most of the traditional solid minerals for Kazakhstan will be developed in the next 20-30 years. And we're going to have the regional solution. So we are going to solve problems on the level of the on national level, because we're going to prepare the sites, which is perspective for the subsoil users. We also see that it is necessary to coordinate in the solution of the problems with other authorities and organizations, like the geological plate, for example, in order to achieve our goals in sustainable development. So we are working on creation object by object improvement plan, which is the reproduction of the mineral resource base of the Republic of Kazakhstan. So the first step is going to be the improvement of the legal and regulatory basis. Of course, there is a criticism towards the legal framework of Kazakhstan. It could be the tax regime, it might be another legal regulatory issue. So we're going to improve the legal and regulatory framework. So we are open for the dialogue to the business, for the society and communities. So we are open for any discussion for the amendments into the legal framework. We understand that nowadays we have quite a tight competition in attraction of the investment. We have neighboring countries, we have Asian and African countries that are dealing with the investment attraction as the priority for the development of their country. The second step is going to be the creation of an effective system for the protection of and reproduction of mineral resources. We understand that there are issues of there are environmental issues, and there are hazardous geological processes that we need to deal with. So that is why, in this sense, in this regard, object by object improvement plan will fulfill these issues. The third step is going to be the improving the quality of information, analytical and forecasting support. Here we're going to increase the efficiency. Fourth step is going to be the formation and replenishment of reserves of the main types of mineral. That I'm going quick because I'm conscious of time. I bring my apologies for being too quick. The fifth step is going to be the scientific support for the reproduction of mineral resources. We're going to implement the object-by-object improvement plan. Actually, this presentation will be available for you, so that is why you can go into details. The next, what we are planning is the stages of an object plan for the object-by-object plan for the production of mineral resources. So we're going to form portfolio of investment objects, including geologically and other information, to inform potential investors about them, improve management and implementing modern concepts in the system of management of reproduction of the mineral resource base. Third is going to be the implementation of measures to improve information support for reproduction of
mineral resource base of Kazakhstan, implement the measures to improve analytical support for the production of mineral resources base of Kazakhstan, improve standards of research and reproduction content of reports on implementing geological research and geological restoration work. I would like to also inform you that we have already digitalized 20% of the whole information regarding the geology industry. And nowadays, I understand that people are asking where we can get the information. We're working with Kazakhstan Gharsh Sapari in order to have quite a convenient database so that you could have an access, so that you will not just open the chaotic information and try to extract something that you need. We will structure it. It won't be interesting for the investments. It should be. It should have mapping. It should also take into consideration different abnormalities in geophysics and different measures. So I know that. Sometimes it happens that investors, for example, sometimes requesting information and we still don't have this information at hand. So that is why we are going to digitalize everything so that all investors would have opportunity to have an access to the information from the operators and from the authorities. We are right now processing this information in the National Survey of Geological Services of Kazakhstan, and we are going to think about opportunities of procuring and gaining this information from us. I'm ready to answer questions. That's all on my side. Thank you so much, Yerlan. This is very important information that you have delivered. Acknowledging the problem is one of the steps for its solution. I was the head of this division when it was Kazgeo Inform. We were talking about the disclosing the information, the accessibility to the information, and all of the investors are waiting this information being accessible, disclosed, and I think this is something that we've been talking about, and I hear that together with the Ministry of the Digitalization, this is going to be solved. We will have Q&A session further, but I still would like to I would like to look at the opinion of the investors who believed into Kazakhstan and opened enterprises in the service and attracting investments into these risky business. So that is why I would like to give a floor to James Benyard. First quantum minerals from Africa to world. This is very interesting opinion and experience that will be useful for you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Arthur and his team for putting on this fantastic showcase of Kazakh geology and for the opportunity to explain a little bit of the first quantum story from our humble beginnings as a tailings reprocessor in Africa to the global copper miner that you see today. This first slide highlights our production growth over the last 20 years. As I said, we started out processing tailings at the Bwana Mkubwa facilities in Zambia. And we used the profits of that to explore and acquire a couple of mining operations, Lonchi and Frontier in the Democratic Republic of Congo, turning those profits into the acquisition of the Kansanshi deposit. Now, First Quantum has made its history with project development skills, but also taking on complex metallurgical challenges. The owners of Kansanshi didn't believe it could be processed economically, and we went in there and we've built a mine that's now been running for over 20 years. We've also, built the Sentinel mine from scratch in Zambia, and most recently the Cobre Panama development. That was a $10 billion investment program, which included not just the mine, but also deep water port facilities and a coal-fired power station. So we built all of the infrastructure from scratch. And you can see there at the bottom, how we started out in the late 90s in Zimbabwe and how it looks today. It's, world-class assets. We operate 8 mines in 6 different countries, principally focusing in copper. We produce over 700,000 tons of copper a year, which makes us the 6th largest producer in the world. Most of that, as you'll see, comes from Zambia and from Panama. So you'll see that, we have a lot of focus on 1 or 2 jurisdictions and also development projects in Latin America. And we'd like to, I suppose, grow the company and expand into other jurisdictions, which is partly why we're here in Kazakhstan. This just to give you an idea of, our long life assets. As I said, Cobre Panama is nearly 3.5 billion tons of copper in a porphyry. 3.5 billion tons at 0.37 copper in a porphyry. And the Sentinel and Kansanshi mines are large sediment-hosted copper deposits. Kansanshi, despite having been mined for 20 years, still has a resource base of over 1 billion tons, and we intend to capitalize on that via the S3 expansion, which is going ahead this year. As you can see, our development pipeline also encompasses a lot of large, low-grade deposits in South America, the Hikira and Takataka porphyries, and most recently the project at La Granja, which we worked on in conjunction with Rio Tinto. That's a joint venture project. You see it's 4 billion tons at 0.5 copper. And I think, we're seeing a trend through the industry that when you have to develop mines this big, that require this much capex, that you'll see more big companies partnering up and sharing those risks. This is about the Vendaval porphyry, which we recently discovered in Argentina. We want to point out that we're not just a mine builder and an explorer, we're also a discoverer. We took this project on in late 2017, and we conducted initial works and historical archive reports, pored over the data that the historic operators had drilled during the 1990s. They'd done shallow vertical RC drilling, and they'd hit a lot of post-mineral dikes, no mineralization, and it's our feeling that they didn't really understand the system. So we went back, did a lot of mapping, took on a new approach, and as you can see, we hit some long runs of quite considerable copper and gold grades. I think this is particularly applicable to Kazakhstan because there's an awful lot of Soviet-era prospects out there, and we look at them in the archive reports and we see a lot of shallow vertical drilling. And we wonder what's changed in the porphyry world in our understanding of these deposits and our understanding of what is economic. The cutoff grades have been getting lower over the last 30, 40 years. I think there's a lot of scope and a lot of potential to reevaluate some of these historical assets. So why are we here? First Quantum started looking at Kazakhstan in 2018 after the change in the subsoil use code. And we've been encouraged by what we've seen ever since in terms of transparency of application, security of tenure, and we find that very attractive from an investment perspective. There's other cases of countries such as Ecuador where we've gone in just after they've changed their mining code, and we found a couple of years later that they've chosen to switch that back. So I think waiting was maybe a prudent decision here. As more ground is released into the subsoil use cadastre, there's more and more exploration opportunities. There's VMS deposits, there's porphyry arcs, there's said copper here. There's very few countries where we cover such a range of assets or sort of deposit styles for copper. There's world-class deposits. Kazakhstan, has been running 100 years. That's a huge said copper deposit. Kunrad historically, and more recently, the team at Kaz Minerals with Aktaga and Boshikol, these are fantastic world-class open-pit mines that have been built in the last 10 years. We see that alongside the widespread infrastructure, rail, power, some smelting capacity, and the flat topography. These are places where we can build open-pit mines, we feel, cheaper and maybe quicker than we can do it in South America in more extreme topographies, more extreme climates. So, to introduce you to First Quantum in Kazakhstan, we established ourselves in 2023, opened up an office in Almaty. We have several Kazakh geologists. Please come and see us at our booth. We'd love to talk to you. We've looked at a number of projects along with some of my illustrious partners here on the panel, and we've also gotten into 2 option to JV projects with Palace Resources. We've signed an MOU with Kazakh Mizbarlao. They've been extremely welcoming as we kind of find our footing in the country, and they've invited us to review, their underground mines in Jezkazgan and Jamanaibat. We welcome that transparency from existing operators. And finally, we have a history of greenfields exploration as well as project development. We're here generating our own data sets, and we intend to be pegging our own licenses shortly and getting on the ground this summer. So, what's our capacity? We're a small Kazakh team. We've only just gotten started, but we're supported by a long history of exploration, a large global team, and a lot of expertise in places like Zambia, the Central African Copper Belt. We feel that what we've learned about targeting for said-hosted copper deposits over the last 20 years is something that's going to serve us pretty well here in Kazakhstan in places like the Chusara-Su or the Tiniz Basin. We think there's still a lot to be discovered here, and we're going to do our best to find it. We also, as I mentioned, started out as a tailings reprocessing operation, and we think we have expertise at reviewing projects across the mining value chain, whether that be truly greenfields or whether it's brownfields, advancing assets, stalled assets, places that are undercapitalized, or whether that's post-closure and it's tailings reprocessing. We have been and are still processing the tailings at our Cobre Las Cruces mine in Spain and in Gelb-Magrain in Mauritania. We have a lot of this expertise throughout the group. And finally, what's next for us here in Kazakhstan? We would really love to strengthen our ties with local partners, local operators, and really sort of find out more about the business environment, the mining environment, but also look for high quality copper assets. We're here to discover, we're here to develop projects. We would love to partner with Kazakh companies and make those investments and our first steps into Central Asia. So thank you very much for your attention. Rahmet and spasibo большое.
Thank you very much, James. It was a very interesting presentation. Кто помнит мою презентацию?
Who remembers my presentation? We had the picture with a fisherman where geological service gives some food, and the juniors come to this a worm on the hook, and this middle fishes, by the way, these are the first quantum that entered Kazakhstan now, and thanks to them we have lots of exploration projects like this, and of course they are risky, but still they will achieve the results. The next speaker is given to Alex Walker, Star Resources CEO, that will introduce the copper potential, because we were talking about the copper crisis in the future. We've discussed it before, and I hope we have the decision of these questions.
And спасибо большое. Все. It's not my first presentation at MINEX, and I expect it won't be the last, so thank you very much everyone today. And I said it at the Kazakhstan Chamber of Mines, thank you for Kazakhstan for hosting both Star and all of the people here and providing us this fantastic opportunity, because we certainly feel this is the next jurisdiction that's going to offer multiple Tier 1 exploration, in particular for copper. My presentation is a shameless proposal about Star, about Kazakhstan and about copper. So they're the three things I'll be focusing on today. We've got three exploration strategies currently in Kazakhstan. We've got volcanogenic massive sulfides in the Rudny-Altai belt of the East region, where we've got one project which we'll be putting an inferred JORC resource on, hopefully publicly released in the next few weeks. We've got an initial copper porphyry exploration strategy, generously backed by the BHP Explore program. And we've got an initial sediment-hosted copper exploration strategy brought in by my new technical director, Chris Van Wyck, who in a past life was the leading participant in the said-hosted copper exploration strategy for First Quantum Minerals. So hopefully there's not too much overlap there with what we're looking to achieve in Kazakhstan, or hopefully there's a lot. A quick look at copper, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think it's really, really important to note that the rhetoric in governments around the world at the moment is with regards to critical minerals, and having a look at which critical mineral list is the one that you'd like to focus on. And very often that critical mineral list does not include copper, but when you have a look at any of the energy departments, including the Department of Energy for the USA, copper is very much at the forefront of that critical minerals list, and it is the superhighway that will be driving the energy transition. So as much as I can appreciate a focus on rare earths, for example, rare earths is a $2 to $3 billion market valuation today. If the bullish sentiment is correct, then by 2030 it'll be a $10 or $12 billion market. Today, copper is a $300 billion market, focused on potentially becoming a $500 billion market by 2030. So the sheer scale and interest in infrastructure that's required to make this energy transition comes from copper. And the new mines are not there today. This supply will not be driven by technology, but by the discoveries of new mines, and Kazakhstan is the place that we feel that will happen. So a bit of promotion on Kazakhstan for those that aren't already interested and invested, and specifically while we're here. Obviously we all know it's a major producer currently. It has low operating costs, and again it was pointed out by James that groups like Kaz Minerals are demonstrating that absolutely perfectly, with the likes of Bolster and Actagai being circa 0.3% copper projects, but still producing in the lowest quartile globally, which is an absolute testament to what's achievable here in the country. Critical transport route has been touched on by everyone. Don't quote me exactly on the numbers, but I believe it's about 1/3 of the cost to get goods from China into Europe, and anything from Europe back to China, if there is anything that goes that way, if it's done via the middle corridor, via land rather than via sea. So there's very much a reason why that One Belt, One Road initiative exists, and why that will continue to be invested in. The UK and the EU have both signed critical mineral supply agreements with Kazakhstan, which will open up new sources of finance and very much demonstrates their interest in the country and their belief on the stability of it as an investment jurisdiction. And then we've obviously got the global majors coming in. Rio Tinto's been here for a while. Barrick Signal, they're coming in. We've very much welcomed First Quantum to the table. Glencore has been here for a while. Fortescue Metals Group. And I really hope to be adding the world's largest mining company, BHP, onto that in the not too distant future, through their Explore program, where they invest in junior exploration companies. There were more than 500 applicants in the 2024 cohort. 6 of them received a grant, and 2 of those were from Kazakhstan. So certainly it shows you that they have an interest in coming back to Kazakhstan, where they have not been since 2010. The first of our strategies is the volcanogenic massive sulfide belt. And this is very much infrastructure-led exploration. The belt is 800 kilometres long. It goes through Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia and into China. And it is the 4th largest producing belt in the world, and we feel still very much underexplored, despite the fact that it's had several hundred years of exploration and production history. What you see along this belt is mines where there's outcrop and no mines where there's no outcrop. So what we're looking to do is apply modern mineral exploration techniques to find those mines undercover. It's infrastructure rich. Again, Kaz Minerals providing the majority of that infrastructure with the Nikolovskoye processing plant. Artemyevsky's in operation today, Ortishki's in operation, and we have Kaz Zinc out to the further to the east with Ritter and Malievsky and a few other operations. We have the Verkuba deposit there. Currently today has an exploration target from over 42,000 metres of drilling, and as I said, we'll be looking to increase that to a JORC inferred resource in the next week or two from over 46,000 metres of drilling. But this is a real example of what can happen when you release and get access to good historical data. We can speculate as to why this asset might have been ignored a little while ago, but I presume it's because when you stumble across something like Artemyevsky or Nikolovskoye, where it's outcropping at surface and you've got 4 or 5% copper, then a 1 or 2% copper deposit is slightly less attractive at that period of time. But today, when the global average of a copper production is around 0.5% and falling very quickly, all of a sudden 1.5%, 2% copper looks very, very attractive. And so we're really looking forward to progressing this project and seeing what it might be able to entail in providing longevity in terms of production in the East region. We're undertaking very, very high impact exploration. We did a heli-borne EM survey over the VMS licences back in 2022, and that generated hundreds and hundreds of targets, which we refined down to 48 targets, which we're further refining with geological field work, assays and review of historical data. We believe that at least 3 of those will be drill ready this year and could be very, very high impact targets for ESTAR. Importantly, across the region, it's understanding what this region has the capacity to do. So we've actually also been taking samples from over 16 current and past producing mine sites to get the lithogeochemical signature and fingerprint of those mines, both in the hanging wall, footwall and of the ore body themselves. And in doing so, we'll be able to draw a very, very clean new geological approach to understanding which rock types offer the absolute and which horizons offer the best outcome for potential new economic deposits undercover. BHP-backed copper porphyry exploration is very early days. It was a $500,000 grant from the BHP Explore program that's due to finish in June of this year. And there's not a lot I could say about that at the moment, unfortunately. It's quite high-level work that's being undertaken, very much first principles analysis of quite significant copper porphyry belts. We've pegged 2 licences and we very much hope to be generating a number of other targets. Those 2 licences are Aogoz out in the east region, again not overly far from Aktagai mine, and Snowy in the Karaganda region. Both silica lithocaps and both have quite significant footprints which are being assessed today, and we hope to be undertaking soil sampling campaigns this year for a first pass review of the prospectivity of that. Really interestingly on copper porphyry is the interpretation of it today and why this opportunity may have been missed previously. And I guess there's 2 principal reasons for that. One is the invention of very low detection assay limits in ICP-MS, allowing us to assess surface minerals in a lot more detail than we've been able to do in the past. And the other one is actually geological models with regards to copper porphyry systems and what are those indicator minerals that might indicate a commercial deposit below the surface. Quoting Charlie Johnson there from the head of the BHP Explore program, as I said, we really hope to see them enter the country in something more significant than the BHP Explore program. Did I skip one? Sediment-hosted copper, I won't go into in too much detail. It's very fledgling for us, again led by our technical director, Chris Van Wyck. But I think the prospectivity of sediment-hosted copper is exceptional. Jezkazgan is the 3rd largest sediment-hosted copper deposit in the world, and the basin in Kazakhstan is by far and away the largest and drastically underexplored, with plenty of licences in the region still available. So we really think that that has a huge potential as well to offer additional commercial deposits. So there we are. Today we're a small-scale explorer with an exploration target and a few big dreams. A month from now we hope to have our first indicated resource and be looking to progress that project in Vakuba through to scoping study and pre-feasibility study in the next 12 to 18 months. And we're really excited to be getting out in the field to execute those programs. And within 12 months we hope to be able to deliver those results. Potentially look at some additional discoveries on the VMS, and certainly hope to be putting away a few additional joint ventures with large mining companies to increase the investment in Kazakhstan, ideally via Easter as a proven explorer in the country. So there we go, I'll quote myself on this one. There are a few places in the world where a Western mineral framework meets low operating costs and a progressive attitude towards developing resource projects. Eastar's already demonstrated efficient exploration success and now has the capability to deliver multiple Tier 1 copper deposits. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Alex. We wish you luck in your project. It's very interesting. В целом, то, что проектом
In general, that the project ISTAR was interesting, and we have the grant funding of such BHP Explorer, and it provides the hope and optimism on exploring and finding the large mine sites, and it's great practice of attracting the investments, and we hope that this practice will be going on when it comes to other projects in our country. Good luck once again. In conclusion, I would like to give the floor to the Director General, Aras Minerals Corporation, to Tim Barry with the topic on the copper gold potential.
First of all, I'd like to thank my fellow colleagues, but like any good story, the best always comes at the end, and I guess this is the case as well. So we've been in Kazakhstan since 2021, And I guess since we've gone into the country, I'd reiterate everything that's being said. We believe Kazakhstan is now, in our opinion, one of the best exploration jurisdictions on the planet, both in prospectivity and bang for the buck. And we're very excited to show you some of our activities in the Pavlodar region. So, we all know Kazakhstan. The three main cities, I guess, we spend some time in is Almaty, where I live, Astana, and then Karaganda is where the assay lab is that we send a lot of our data. These are the known porphyry deposits in the country. As of now, we think there's a lot more to find. And these are the belts that host the porphyry deposits. So where we're focused on is what's called the geological magmatic arc, and that's up in the north, and our main project, Beskoga, sits 250 kilometres away from Astana along a four-lane highway right to the project. This is a belt that we think is dramatically underexplored. There's 3 known porphyries in this belt. 2 are in production, Boshikol and Nurkargan, and we have the 3rd right now with Beskoga, with many more to come. So when we entered the country, this was our licence position. 67 square kilometres, a little spot on the steppe. Since we've been here, we've staked additional ground, and our licence position now looks like this, which represents 3,300 square kilometres, all focused on the magmatic arc to the north, and we feel is very much focused on the porphyry copper potential. So we recently did a joint venture with Teck Resources, Canada's largest mining company, on the licences highlighted in yellow. And then the remaining licences are licences that we still control and own 100%. The infrastructure in the area is amazing, and it's one of the things I think that makes Kazakhstan special, because it's extremely prospective, we all know that. However, it's the infrastructure that makes these lower grade targets, the 0.3, 0.4, extremely viable, profitable mines. So there's our Beskoga deposit. This is where the Bogota coal mine is. That's the 5th largest coal mine in the world. And beside that is the town of Ekibastuz, which is where our head office is based, or our field office actually. And we're 50 kilometres from the project. The roads are exceptional. This is heavy rail. We're 22 kilometres from heavy rail. And then the power infrastructure is amazing, so that Bogota coal mine feeds a power station that produces 40% of the power in Kazakhstan. And we have the distinction of having the 2 highest voltage power lines in the world running right through the property, and you can feel your fillings fizz if you get to stand under those power lines. So our ore body at Beskoga right now looks like this. This is the historical drilling that we've based a resource on, which basically works out to about 200 million tonnes at 0.3 copper and 0.5 gold. Indicated and inferred are shown in there as well. So the big question is, can this thing get a lot bigger? And the answer is absolutely. So the deposit is buried, it's very flat terrain, and there's about 30 or 40 metres of overburden over the top of it. So the way we're exploring to see if this thing can be bigger is by drilling through that overburden and sampling the top of bedrock. So this is the drill pattern we've done over the last couple of years. This is the copper anomaly that sits, that we picked up, and you got to remember this is sampling rock. This isn't like a soil halo. So this is a representative of real mineralisation at surface. So that's the deposit, and we've got a 4 kilometre trend that basically hasn't been explored. This is the gold anomaly that accompanies it. So we think Muskoka as a deposit has lots of room to grow. So the drilling we've completed in the area looks like this. It represents about 25,000 metres. If you just zoom into the main deposit, you kind of get a view of what the rocks look like, classic porphyry style mineralisation, and you can see some of the spectacular grades we're picking up. And basically this starts at surface. If you move down to this area down in the middle there, which we call Muskoka Central, again, you can see the kind of grades and intercepts we're hitting. That's not part of the resource. And then if you move to the south, same thing again. We move into a very gold-rich area, which we think represents a zonation of the ore body. But again, some spectacular grades, 40 plus metres at over 2 grams starting at surface. So the big question is, though, Muskoka got us into the country. We stuck our head up into the wind and asked the question, is there more to find? And our view is very much so. So these are the porphyry targets that we're following up and chasing. We've got some very interesting gold targets that we're very excited about as well. And then, depending on the price of metal, I beat my chest about nickel potential or I don't. Right now I'm not. Copper and gold. So here's a couple of examples of the porphyry targets that we're building up as the company. So this is a license area that we've got over in the west. This represents about 2,000 square kilometres. And this is what's called the Bolster mine, which is run very ably by Kaz Minerals. This is Ekibastuz, where we've got our head office. This is rail, power and road, so crazy good infrastructure. And if you zoom into Bolster itself, you can see the mine. This is from Google Earth. I haven't got a spy satellite over the top. But what's amazing about this is an old Soviet IP survey that very clearly picks out the Bolster mine. We found another IP survey and some Soviet data up here to the north that represents about 28 kilometres to the north of Bolster. If you look at the IP response, you can see Bolster, that's a billion-tonne porphyry, probably a much bigger porphyry than that. And you can see the same intensity and similar size to this IP anomaly we've picked up in the north here. If you look at our Alamus project, this is another prospect we've been chasing. We've staked up an area of just under 1,000 square kilometres. That's Ekibastuz. This is the project we work on when we're feeling lazy. It's nice and close. This is the rail, power and road. Again, crazy good infrastructure. So one of the things we did is we targeted the area with soil sampling. And if we zoom into this area off to the west, we picked up an almost 9 kilometre long soil copper anomaly, grading over 200 ppm soil, copper in the soils. What came along with it was a very prominent molybdenum or moly anomaly, kind of a classic porphyry bullseye target. And we picked up very prominent alteration in the soils as well. However, what makes this a particularly appealing target is that there's been some historical drilling here. So this area called Quartzite was drilled by the Soviets and then later by another company. They drilled 143 metres at 0.7 gold, 0.42 copper, starting at surface. Another area in the south, Bereski, had 105 metres at 1.2 gold, 0.2 copper, and they're separated by 5 kilometres in distance. This is a massive target. So I'll finish with this. I've got the guy showing 3 minutes. We're in a 500-kilometre long porphyry belt. And when you compare it to some of the other great porphyry belts in the world, you can squeeze 25 porphyries in a similar size belt. In Chile, 37 in Arizona, 22 in Peru, and 20 in the Philippines. Right now, in the Boshikol-Chingiz magmatic arc, we have 3 known porphyries, and we have an additional 7 targets that we're following up. We think there's lots of room for this to grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim. Действительно, сегодня мы выслушали перспективы.
Indeed, we have already listened to perspectives of the geologists that are already working in our country. All of us are hoping that all of these works will bring the results, positive results, hopefully. We are in time, but at the same time, I would like to remind you that in 10 minutes, we're going to look at the results of the survey that we have conducted right in the beginning. If you didn't answer the questions, please scan the QR code on your badges or on the booklets. Now I would like to ask a question. I heard that National Geological Survey is oriented towards increasing the service by the search evaluation works. And at that time, when we were adopting the code, we were thinking that we are not going to conduct risky surveys because they are quite, let's say, financially consuming and resource consuming. Is it possible that we could, for example, subsoils will have licensed for the survey? Government is spending lots of money for the searching and exploring, but the subsoil user is going to be the owner of the land. So will that be quite risky for government, or you're going to have some rules and regulations that it will be fair? Thank you so much for a question. Well, government, on behalf, well, as represented by the Ministry and Geological Service, is going to focus on mapping. So during the mapping, we are going to have geophysics conduct. So it will look like a pie. So in principles, what we are going to do, we will limit ourselves with the geophysics and with the primary exploration, just in order to confirm what perspectives we might have. Geochemistry, for example, will confirm the roots. It might be the issue of the terminology, I think. So we are going to, government is going to limit to 500,000. So we will sometimes limit ourselves with the Earth remote sensing. And company, for example, CDG, have showed us the presentation. They are dealing with geophysics on a global level. They have already confirmed our understanding. Even for 200,000 scale is actually enough for the investors. So this is my answer. Thank you so much. This is good clarification, because indeed regional geological surveys and distant and remote geochemistry, for example, and earth remote sensing is something that is being awaited for a long time, and the results that had been published, the reports that had been published, they are matching with the Earth remote sensing results, and I hope that all of this data will be available, and of course it will attract, but they will be more attractive
as a result. And subsoil user who is lucky that, so we will not have this kind of subsoil users who have the license but didn't know that they have deposits, and we will identify those deposits. I understand that we're coming towards lunch and you would like to have aggregate information, and if we don't have any other questions to address, maybe we could look at the statistics. I would like to ask you to display it on the slide, onto the screen. Well, according to the official announcement in Kazakhstan, we have more than 5,000 non-discovered deposits with amounted to $46 trillion of US. Do you agree with it? So most say that yes, but there will be some clarifications. But it might be substitution of some of the notions, because I know that 5,000, that was the deposits that weren't evaluated yet, and maybe government balance can actually confirm these displays or development. The next one, National Plan of Development, Republic of Kazakhstan 2029, is stating, has the prospects of the growth of the mineral deposits on 40%. And of course, is it possible to implement this plan? Most say that the provisions with the sources of the financial is important. So some number of experts do not agree with the geological data, but we've already explained this. Amortization of the costs will do not agree most. Well, this is the task that we have in the frame of the National Plan of Development. I will hope that this task will be fulfilled, not at the expense of the government investments, but more by the private investments. We will hope that these tasks will also fulfill the digitalization, automatization. The next one, please. How do you evaluate investment activity in geological industry in upcoming 12 months? Will there be growth? 40% think that there'll be a growth and it will not change. 60% think that nothing will change. Well, it's optimistic and implementable, I guess, the growth part. The next one, how do you evaluate geological search and activity in separate sectors of Kazakhstan? Most think that it won't be connected to the coal deposits. I agree, because coal deposit is on the balance for upcoming 200 years. Those sites exist. We need to extract lithium, have the same positive forecast. The precious metals and chromium will be on the same level. Everybody agree with the rare earth metals will grow. The zinc will be on the same level. Well, what complications or barriers you're facing whilst obtaining the permit and license for exploration? Bureaucracy, negative attitude of the population. Yes, we do deal with it. Infrastructural limitations. Well, what does it say? It says that there is a room for development. There's a potential. There's no result that is impossible to achieve. I hope digitalization will solve all of these problems, but it's good that we are quite successfully solving problems with corruption. What technologies will be mostly implemented in geological industry in Kazakhstan? Remote sensing and non-spacious technologies. Nobody believes in it. Very interesting opinion, to be honest. Digitalization of the data, agree. Most agree. It's very prosperous one. Well, the utilizing the information, most agree. Everyone agrees with the usage of the drones. That's going to be quite perspective one in order to conduct the geological analysis. Blockchain transparency, supply chain will be provided. And the final question, again, it'll be done as on the previous session, voiced afterwards. Well, in any case, we are on time. Thank you so much. I would like to express gratitude for all of your presentations. I think they're relevant to in Kazakhstan. All of these experiences never personal. I think this will benefit for all participants of the forum. Thank you so much, Artur.
Hello, and thank you for joining the second plenary session of the forum. Central Asia is home to vast reserves of minerals and metals. During the session, we will be discussing the current state and the prospects of geological exploration in Central Asia. Esteemed representatives from the National Geological Services and international mining companies will offer their insights and share information about some of the advanced mineral exploration projects. We are conducting a survey on the incentives and prospects for accelerating geological exploration in Central Asia, with a focus on Kazakhstan. Your insights and perspectives as industry professionals will be invaluable in helping us understand the current landscape and identify opportunities for growth and development in this critical sector. The survey covers a range of topics, including strategies for achieving the government's goal of a 40% increase in mineral reserves by 2029, expectations for investment activity and mineral exploration in Kazakhstan over the next 12 months, challenges faced in obtaining exploration permits and licenses, emerging technologies that will shape the geological industry in the coming decade. Your participation is completely voluntary and your responses will be kept confidential. Please scan the QR code to open the survey. Let's explore Kazakhstan exploration industry together.